Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and we're going to talk about the the house that Dungeons and Dragons built, Legends of Vox Machina, Season 1, Episode 7. This is the first episode that dropped for today, and I'm going to tell you the very best moment in Legends of the Vox Machina, Amazon Prime, Season 1, Episode 7. Spoilers in this content for Legends of Vox Machina, Season 1, Episodes 1 through Episodes 9. All right, so the best moment, it actually was a Percival moment, a Percival DeRollo moment, when we are introduced to Percival DeRollo's sister, Cassandra DeRollo, and his parents, his noble parents. So the DeRollo house, we get to see them all together, and it's and the show starts with a flashback, right? And I've really struggled with Taliesin Jaffe. I really feel like he didn't really have any sense of how big this was going to be, and I think there were a lot of clues back in the beginning how big this would be. I definitely think that Critical Role had an idea of where they were headed, right? So, and I just really feel that Taliesin Jaffe did not do what he needed to protect the absolute magnitude, the potential that Critical Role had with this Legends of Vox Machina story and with the stories that have preceded it, the Mighty Nine and the Unnamed Season 3, right? But this helped me understand, I think, Percival DeRollo more and Taliesin Jaffe and what he's doing. So here's what happens, right? So we're introduced to all of the DeRollos, right? So basically, Professor Ander is a professor, an intellect who's been hired by Percival and Cassandra's parents to tutor them, to be their teacher, 2-on-1, right? Like so basically we see Cassandra for the first time, and Cassandra is receiving instruction from her professor, right? From this professor, and her classroom size is 2-to-1, right? Like, so it's 2 students to 1, right? And it's really fascinating because Cassandra is like, ugh, yeah, I know. See, so you're my professor, and you're teaching me about my family's business, and you're not just teaching me like from a theoretical perspective, but you're actually giving me a practical demonstration of the crystals that the crystals that are part of my family's business, and you're teaching me in an engaged way using practical examples. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ignore you because I'm a noble and you're a dirt person, right? Privilege begets privilege, right? Actually, we haven't even got there for privilege begets privilege. So I'm like, wow. And so Cassandra shows right away, like, I am a privileged noble, and I treat people who are lower social hierarchy than me than like dirt, right? But Percival is not like this. He's paying attention, right? But Cassandra's like, you know what? It's not enough for me to ignore this fantastic practical demonstration of education. I need to make sure that everybody in the classroom can't learn as well, right? So immediately we're shown that, like, Cassandra DeRollo is just a monster child, right? Like, just horrible person, treats people below in lower social hierarchy like dirt. A lot of nobles did this, right? Now, I did not expect this for the DeRollo family, right? But they're showing us in the story that Cassandra DeRollo is a terrible, terrible child. Like, just really spoiled and, like, treats people of a low social hierarchy like dirt, right? Like, so then the parents come in, the DeRollo parents, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, all right, here we go. These parents will see this problem, and they'll correct and say, hey, Cassandra, yes, this person is lower social hierarchy than us, but we treat everybody with equal respect and kindness because we're good people, right? That's what I was expecting. No, right? The father and the mother are like, Professor, did you just blow up a crystal there in your practical demonstration of education, risking the harm to our children? An actual, hands-on science, demonstration? You can't do that. We're nobles, right? And you're just a dirty commoner, right? Like, even though you're a skilled intellect and professor that we paid to teach our children, don't give them practical demonstrations, right? Like, you're not, their blood is, a single drop of their blood is worth more than you, right? Like, and I'm like, wow, right? Okay. So the whole DeRollo family is like, we're nobles, you're common dirt, right? Like, and then Professor Anders says, hey, I know you didn't like my practical demonstration, even though this is exactly how education should work, practical demonstration rather than me just slapping my gums together. But no, that's not enough for you. I'm literally doing a great job teaching your children, but you're not happy, right? And then, like, And then he says, hey, I have this idea to help your family business triple your output, right? And he's like, no, that's beyond your purview, you dirt person. Like, I don't really want your ideas, and I'm not going to treat you like a normal human being and see that you could help my business, not, because you actually have expertise in exactly what I hired my children for, right? And he's like, remember, Noble, you're a dirt commoner. Like, so this clicked everything into place, because I haven't been understanding what Taliesin Jaffe has been doing, but I think I get it now, right? So I used to think that Dungeons & Dragons was like, hey, these are the stories of heroes, right? But Decado 1628 actually said, hey, you need to check your books, right? And I went back, and right there in Dungeons & Dragons 1E is an example. They're like, hey, if you want to play an evil character, here's how you do it. Like, this is, it's right in the book. You can play an evil character. That's what Percival is doing. He's showing the story of a villain who pulls a hero team down with him into villainy, right? And I was like, oh, like, this is the story of the Derolos, and Percival's gonna, like, the Briarwoods took leadership of the Derolos' hometown, hometown, and took it for themselves, right? And now Percival's gonna, like, overthrow the Derolos and restore kind and respectful rulership for his people. And I was like, oh, no, like, the Derolos were villains, and then another villain family, the Briarwoods, come in, and none of this is about the people. None of this is about kindness or restoring a good leader over the area that the Briarwoods took over. This is all about revenge, right? This is just about, this is like, Taliesin Jaffe was like, okay, Batman story, parents died, but let's take the good part out, like where, Batman's like going to help Gotham. What if I'm just a pure revenge machine, and then I find a good group of heroes to join me in my revenging? That would be, and like, I'm like, man, like, and I really didn't understand that Taliesin Jaffe's Percival Derolo is a villain co-opting a group of heroes to get revenge. And now I see that, right? And that's the best part of season 1, episode 7, Critical Role, is just understanding that there's a lot of complexity here, right? I definitely suffer from this idea that Dungeons & Dragons is stories of heroes, but we have to look at the books, and if the books say, yeah, you can run a villainous character, and then somebody like Taliesin Jaffe is like, what if we told a story not of people not of kind, noble people, but of villainous monsters who co-opt other heroes? And I'm like, wow, honestly, I don't like that idea. That seems terrible to me, right? But I have to admit, I'm massively enjoying the story. I'm thrilled to see each one of these animated shows, and this is the best animated Dungeons & Dragons show that has existed since 1986. And virtually every major news source is like D&D, Critical Role, Vox Machina, all together. And I think the momentum is worth the problems, right? And so I'm getting a better understanding that Taliesin Jaffe may not have misunderstood Dungeons & Dragons. He's just saying, I want to show you a villain defeat a villain, like Breaking Bad. So this is more of a Breaking Bad story than this is just a villain replacing other villains. Like, and the more I look at it, like, I wanted to impose heroship and that there were good, kind people within the group, but I'm starting to see this is, Percival Derolo is a villain, and Taliesin Jaffe put his player character in a position to co-op heroes to get a villainous act done, which is his revenge. And once you see that, right, which is very clearly shown that the Derolo family is just pure monster villains from Cassandra all the way up to Percival, to their parents, and that this is not about restoring any kind of a good, kind ruler. This is just like putting a villain back in place because the villain was there first, right? And the Briarwoods are the second villains, right? And the first villain should be in place. Everything starts to fit together like Lego bits. And so I think this gave me a better understanding of what Taliesin Jaffe is doing. He's just a player co-opting a group of people who had an idea of heroship into completing his villainous act. So I think that's the best moment in season 1, episode 7 of Legends of Vox Machina. What did you think was the best moment? I'd love to hear your thoughts on, and also, what did you understand this? Did you understand that Taliesin Jaffe was really pushing a different kind of Dungeons and Dragons game? Villain defeats villain, villain co-ops heroes to get his villainous acts done. Like, did you see that before I did? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.